gastrointestinal tract. GIT is made of GIT proper and accessory organs. Let's start by the gastrointestinal tract proper. It starts in the mouth cavity. Mouth cavity, we're going to study the teeth, how do they look like, and then is going to be next followed by the pharynx. The pharynx should have the three parts: the part opposite the nose, the nasopharynx; the part opposite the mouth, the oropharynx; the part opposite the larynx, the laryngopharynx. Of course, we do not have it right over there. And then next to the pharynx, we have the esophagus. Is going to be from the pharynx going all the way down to the stomach. It has its own opening in the diaphragm. This diaphragm should have an opening for the esophagus to go to the stomach. Okay, just overall kind of study for the GIT. We have some organs like the GIT proper. It's the stomach, followed by the small intestine, followed by the large intestine. We're going to study each in a little bit more details. Some of the accessory organs, this is the liver, and this is the greenish thing called gallbladder. Okay, we're going to remove these parts to study each in a little bit more details. If I remove the stomach, the gallbladder, the liver, and these parts, okay. So if you look at this one, this is the pancreas, one of the accessory organs. So to start with, this is going to be named the greater omentum. This thin sheet of like fatty tissue is called the greater omentum. If we go for the organs, we have to study the stomach as an individual organ. Stomach is made of these parts. This is, of course, the end of the esophagus. Here we have the sphincter called cardiac sphincter. It's called cardiac because it's nearby the heart. The stomach starts by the cardia and then is followed by this part, which we call it the fundus of the stomach. From this area to that area, this is the body of the stomach, and then from here all the way here is the fundus of the stomach. This showing that the stomach is the only organ that has in the smooth muscle layer three different muscles: outer longitudinal, middle circular, and an inner oblique layer. Why only in the stomach? Because once this is closed by that sphincter, and once this is closed by that sphincter, it's a closed room, and the food should be mixed quite well with the enzymes inside the stomach. If we go into the interior of the stomach, we can see these wrinkles called rugae. So the rugae, when the stomach is empty, they show up. When it's full with food, it's going to be completely disappeared. This is the cardiac sphincter, and this is the pyloric sphincter. Stops by this end, and by this end, and then it's going to be a closed room. The stomach looks like a J-shaped organ like this. It ends by the pylorus. Next to the pylorus, we're going to have the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. It looks like a C-shaped organ. In the concavity of that C-shape, we have the pancreas. We're going to study it soon. Next to the duodenum, we're going to have these loops of the small intestine. The second part is called jejunum. And then finally, we're going to have the third piece of the small intestine called the ileum. Ileum is going to end if we turn it to the back like this. This is the remaining part of the small intestine. Here you go. It's called the jejunum. It's going to end here. And then the start of the large intestine. We have this area called the cecum, and that's why the end of the jejunum and the beginning of the cecum is called the ileocecal junction, and it has a valve called the ileocecal valve. In the angle between the ileum and the cecum, we have the appendix. Would like to mention differences between the small and the large intestine. This is supposedly a loop of the small intestine. Compare it to the large intestine. Large intestine has number one, Taenia coli, this white band, fibrous band. The large intestine has these sacs or hostrations or saculations. As you see, it shows like that. So that's the second difference. The third more difference between, we have lobules of fat attached to the large intestine all over the large intestine, is not shown in this one. It's called appendices epiploidy. You never find any of these three things in the small intestine. This is, as I told you guys, is the greater omentum. Large intestine is going to end at the cecum, which looks like S-shaped organ, and then rectum, and then followed by the anal canal going down this way. To study accessory organs of the GIT, we should have salivary glands. Here you go. We have three of them, one surrounding the lobule of the ear. We call it parotid gland, is not here of course. And then we have one under the tongue, is called sublingual, one below the mandible is called submandibular. They secrete all what's called salivary amylase for the complete digestion of starch in your mouth cavity. Next organ is going to be the liver. The liver is made of 4 lobes. The 4 lobes that make the liver are, this is the huge right lobe, this is another lobe called left lobe, and then we have the quadrate lobe, quadrangular in shape, and then we have the caudate lobe. All these structures are in the inferior surface of the liver. We have nearby the quadrate lobe, we have the gallbladder. Gallbladder has a fundus, has a body, and it ends as the cystic duct. The cystic duct will unite with the hepatic ducts to make the common bile duct. Look at these 3 structures. These 3 structures are called the porta hepatis, made of these 3 structures: the duct, the artery, and the vein. By order, they are DAV, D-A-V, the cystic duct, the hepatic artery, and the portal vein. These are just in the area between the quadrate lobe and the caudate lobe. We still have another important structure. This is the inferior vena cava, which is to the right side of the caudate lobe. This is the liver. If you look to another accessory organ, we have the gallbladder, we already mentioned that, and it's mainly for the storage of bile. The last accessory organ is going to be the pancreas. The pancreas has its own main duct that we have to know that it unites with the common bile duct, and both of them are going to open in the duodenum by its middle, as you see this one. If we open the interior of that, it opens into a raised renal papilla called ampulla obvator and is guarded by a valve called a sphincter of Oddi in this area. As you see, running on the upper surface of the pancreas, this is very important artery, which is the splenic artery ending in the spleen. If you look at the spleen, this is the spleen, and this is the artery is going to be ending into the hilum of the spleen. These are all the accessory organs we'd like to know about the GIT.